Hey guys, today I'm going to be presenting on interactive whiteboards used in the language arts classroom. It's actually a summary of the video that I decoded earlier today. It's 5 tips for creating activities with the interactive whiteboard, and I highly suggest you check it out. I'll post the link in the comments so you can give a look. It gives more of a tutorial on how to do these things, and it is really helpful though, so I would definitely check it out if you have the time. But what I'm going to do here is give a little rundown of the 5 tips themselves and how you might be able to integrate those. So the first one is using colors, and on the most basic level you can do this to organize different brainstorming sessions or different notes just by using the same font or the same color. The video itself uses shapes to create his logo, which is a box, and he has different vocabulary words coming out of that as a hook. So you could use it that way just to kind of draw attention to the beginning of a lesson. Like I mentioned earlier, you can use it to organize a brainstorming session. I think one of the other resources in the group wiki today had I think it was a bias and taste. It was like a compare contrast two different concepts. So if you were doing something like that, you might have notes related to one aspect of that in blue, notes related to one in red, just as a simple visual organizational tool. And the video itself actually had a really cool activity I could see being really useful for vocabulary games. What it was pictures of different vocabulary words like bus or car. And I think he's a foreign languages Spanish teacher, so he had the word written underneath. And what he had done was he used colors to match the background to the highlighter tool. So it used a pen and it actually masked the words to blend in with the background so you couldn't see them. And it worked kind of like Prezi, it seemed, at least his whiteboard, so that he could kind of record what he was doing. So he would erase the pen over top. It's a little confusing to understand. Watch the video, you'll get it. But he would gradually erase it away, so it was like he was giving them a clue as they were trying to guess this word. So that was a really cool activity, I thought, that could be useful for vocabulary for a new unit in any discipline. Another thing is layers. If you're familiar with Photoshop, this will be pretty old hat to you. But he used it kind of in the same way that they had used the colors to hide different words. So you can have a shape in front and hide certain words behind there. And they had done closed passages where they would omit a word, and the wrong answer would actually, once you dragged it over top of that box, it would go hidden, indicating that it was incorrect, where the correct answers would actually fit right into that box. So you can use that to kind of do a visual trick to show which answers are right and wrong. And I thought that'd be pretty cool to use as like a vocabulary review game where you have students interacting with the board and they can drag and immediately see, oh, this one's right, this one's wrong. So I thought that was a really neat way to use layers. Images, something that we think of all the time, but rather than just put them up on the whiteboard to present, you can also use them to link back to a site, almost like a hyperlink would. So if you have more information you want to display, or if you want to have that take you to somewhere else, you can do that. And you can also layer images. They did something pretty cool with like an anatomy, like a skeleton and a muscle. So by varying the transparency, you can kind of put them on one another. And I'm still trying to figure out a good use in language arts for that. But if anyone thinks of that, let me know. I'd be curious. Another thing you can do, the fourth tip, is sounds. You can add them to images. So if you needed to, again, he's a foreign language, so sound of a bus, he might have the sound a bus makes. I could see it as for pronunciation tools, especially if you have ELL learners, that might help them. He actually had the pronunciation of the word that he was teaching in Spanish play as he clicked on a certain word. So that's a really neat way to, maybe reiterate the pronunciation of certain vocabulary words. And I was also thinking that you could add sound clips, like someone reading a poem, to either an image related to the poem or to the poem itself. So if you have that, something short displayed on the board, you can link it to a sound and have a reading of that for a different presentation. And the final tip that the video mentions is incorporating video itself. Now, apparently, I don't know if this is true with all whiteboards, but it'll let you upload YouTube videos, so you don't actually have to be connected to YouTube, which is apparently really great if YouTube is banned, so you can still get to the content without actually having to visit the site on the school computer. And it'll give you the full range of the pause, fast forward, all that jazz. And I think it'd be really useful. I can't tell you how many times I've seen teachers be like, hey, think about this as you watch the video or answer these questions, and students don't necessarily have a handout with that written down in front of them. So this might be a good way to display the video like in the top left-hand corner and then have different questions down below so they have something to visually look at to remind them what they should be looking for or what questions they should be answering. So that's a brief summary of that YouTube video. Like I said, I'll post the link in the comments. It's a really great thing to look at, again, especially if you want the tutorial on it, but a lot of simple ways that you can use whiteboards, but a lot of really effective ways, I think, to make them more than just a presentation method and more of an interactive activity. Thanks, guys.